Alrighty, we are tracking storms through Kansas City right now. We officially have a severe thunderstorm warning on the west side of the city. Now, it's not terribly impressive here. However, it's enough to go live for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-size hail. This is something that we told you guys earlier today that we were going to see. We are going to see multiple rounds of storms here. So we saw that first round, which is now off into the middle of Missouri. We're talking Columbia into, let's see, the California Jefferson City area. We've also got some storms out near St. Louis, and then we're going to see these storms track into St. Louis as we head into the next few hours. And we'll talk in a few minutes about what this mesoscale discussion looks like and what we're expecting over the next few minutes in Rolla and in St. Louis. But I do want to talk about that severe thunderstorm warning in Kansas City right now. You can see it highlighted here in yellow. We've got 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-size hail moving into Kansas City, but we also have some tornado warnings up in St. Joe. So this is from Edgerton to St. Joe. We do have a tornado warning, radar indicated tornado, potential tornado, moving to the southern side of the city right now. So we'll be keeping an eye on St. Joe as well. As for Oklahoma, storms have started to move off to the south and east, and the rest of the state is severe clear. So we're talking Oklahoma City, Tulsa, severe clear right now. There were some massive hailstones out in northern Texas today. We got 4.5-inch size hailstones out in the Bowie and Nocona areas today. So you can see that highlighted here in red, 4-inch hailstones, another 4-inch hailstone report. So we just got some massive hailstones in this area. And it was quite an impressive storm that came through here. There's your 4.5-incher right there. But now, of course, all the storms have tracked to the east. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning in Gainesville right now. This is for 65-mile-per-hour wind gust and half-dollar size hail. And then we've got that high wind storm, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts in the southeastern side of the state. Now, we had a tornado warning going through Fayetteville a while ago. We're watching for a few other tornadoes going through Ozark, Arkansas, and Harrison, Arkansas right now. Of course, as for Oklahoma, we are dry and clear. And actually, take a look outside right now. Take a look at our Edmond camera. Our Edmond camera really showing off here a gorgeous sunset this evening. We saw a great sunset out in Edmond this evening. So no storms to speak of. Actually, you can see just how flat these clouds are. Really showing us that we don't have a very high potential for storms at all at the moment. Just really, really humid and still pretty warm out there. If you don't mind the humidity, it's actually pretty comfortable at the moment. Alrighty, let's go back to our radar because we officially have a severe thunderstorm warning for St. Louis, ping pong ball size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts on the west side of St. Louis right now. We're starting to see these storms pick up in Missouri in the central and eastern side of the state. So let's talk about what this mesoscale discussion says right here. Let's make this full screen so that you can see the entire radar of St. Louis. Ping pong ball size hail. Excuse me. Ping pong ball size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We've got lightning strikes going out well beyond the storm itself. We've got lightning strikes in downtown St. Louis right now. So let's move over to our 4-box and identify the area where we have the most likely potential to be seeing large hail on the ground. Give me just a minute here. Where's everyone watching from today? I didn't even ask that earlier. Lee's saying getting a severe thunderstorm message in Kansas City. Yeah, you guys have severe warnings in Kansas City, but it's for quarter-size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, so it's what we consider marginally severe. We've got a more impressive storm over in St. Louis right now. Let me know where you guys are watching from right now, and we'll continue to do these hyperlocal forecasts for everyone. We've got a 2-inch hail marker out in Kirkwood, which is in St. Louis, just on the west side of St. Louis. And I bet we have some pretty high wind from this as well. Let's switch over so that you can see the 4-box here. All right, here we go. Here's Kirkwood, Crestwood, right along the highway and to the north. We've got some decent hail, a decent hail core right here. So we're talking about right in here. You could probably see some large hail right in this area. It's warned for ping pong ball size hailstones. So we're talking about 1.5-inch size hailstones. But you could probably see something even higher than that. You can see this moving to the north. It intensified pretty quickly, and it's moving pretty quick as well. The National Weather Service has this moving to the north at about 40 miles an hour. We've actually seen the wind speeds increase in this storm. So not only are we watching for large hail up to ping pong ball size hail, but we're also watching for that high wind moving to the north here. But we're going to see high wind at about 70 miles an hour. So wind-driven hail on the west side of St. Louis at the moment. Kirkwood to Clayton is where we're seeing this hail at. And we're talking about these areas right in here. And then maybe another pocket of hail right in here. So that's what we're watching for right now. We're using the St. Louis radar, but we may jump over to terminal here pretty soon as this continues to track to the north. You've got a pocket of high wind in here as well. So you're absolutely going to see some high wind out of these storms that are moving to the north from Clayton all the way out to the west. We've got some more cities moving on, to speak of here as we zoom down. Maplewood, Brentwood, Rock Hill, Webster Groves, Frontenac, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and Westwood. Crystal Lake Park also expected to get probably out of the hail at this point, but still getting those heavy downpours that are coming in from the south. Joseph says, that's where I'm at. It's dime size. Oh, in Kirkwood? Yeah, you've got some smaller hail down in Kirkwood. I wonder if you got this little hail core. It was intensifying as it was going into Kirkwood, but it really looks more impressive now as it's crossing the highway. A lot more impressive as it's crossing the highway just to the north of you, Joseph. We've got a question about Plano, Texas. Plano, I can look at your radar right now, but I think you guys are pretty quiet at the moment. Yeah, no storms in Plano. You guys may be on the very edge of a tornado watch out in Plano. But you're not seeing anything severe out there. Really where we're watching is St. Louis right now, which has a pretty significant severe thunderstorm warning, 70-mile-per-hour wind speeds and ping pong ball size hail. The National Weather Service saying people and animals outdoors will be injured. Expect hail damage to roofs, siding, windows, and vehicles. Expect considerable tree damage. Wind damage is also likely to mobile homes, roofs, and buildings. And again, this is coming from the National Weather Service. That is their exact wording, not coming from us, but from the National Weather Service. This is moving fast, going to the north at about 40 miles an hour. So you can see just the intensification of the storm over the last few minutes. We've gotten hail out of this. We've also gotten some decent wind gusts as well. And let's see if we can get some hail reports. I'm surprised we don't have any hail reports yet. I would have expected to see some by now, but we don't have any hail reports at the moment just outside of St. Louis. We'll see if we get some over the next few minutes. So I'll stay on until we get some hail reports in here. And actually, while we are waiting for more reports to come in, let me look on Twitter and see if we can get anything for you. We did get one report from Joseph, which we appreciate, Joseph. Kirkwood, dime-size hail in Kirkwood. So we appreciate you sending that in. And if anyone else is watching out there in St. Louis area or in Kansas City, which is also getting some rain right now, send in your reports to us as well. We love to see those reports. Alrighty, let's check social media and see if we can get all right, let me share my screen with you here. So let's show both of these screens at the same time. Here we go. So this is the camera out of St. Louis right now. You can see that we're really trying to pinpoint which camera to look at. So if we zoom out a little bit, go a little bit farther out of the city. We are seeing a major slowdown on the highway here, and this is where some of the biggest or a core of the storm, I think, is going through right now. So we are seeing a slowdown here. We're also seeing just a ton of rain on the highway here as well. Obviously, it would be very, very difficult to see any hail this time of night because we just don't have, not only do we not have good cameras over here, but we also don't have great lighting. You can see that rain is coming down pretty hard right now across this area. So we'll keep this up and we'll keep an eye on these storms in St. Louis as they track to the north. But it does look like some of the most impressive. Oh, yeah, and a big slowdown on the highway at the moment, probably because of these storms, which you can see the water flowing there in the corner where we do have a little bit more light there in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Let's see if we can make this any bigger. There we go. Now, if you look at our radar, what we're watching for here within this severe thunderstorm warning, which goes anywhere from ball wind all the way to the east into St. Louis, we have golf ball size hail and 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We have seen that intensify from what we saw earlier, which was ping pong ball size hail. So the National Weather Service is upping their hail size just a little bit there. And where we're really pinpointing that hail core is between Ladue and Clayton, Missouri, all the way up to places just to the west of University City and south of Olivet. One thing to note about this area of St. Louis is near University City is where we saw that tornado go through on Saturday, Friday. It was very, very recent. I think it was Friday. But this place just got hit here recently, and now we're getting another significant severe thunderstorm warning here. We've got a little bit of rotation with this. However, it's not tornado warned, so I'm not terribly concerned about that rotation quite yet. What I'm really watching for here is that just significant hail core that's going into Clayton and Ladue right now, just north of Richmond Heights and to the south of University City. Let's go back and check on some of our ODOT or our Missouri cameras here. So we're going to want a camera right in here. Oh yeah, look at that big slowdown back there. Look at this camera rocking side to side with that high wind. And we've got tons of lightning on this as well. So lots of lightning going on at the moment. That camera is rocking side to side. And then we can see a big slowdown there in the distance. Let's keep on going up the highway here and get a few more views of the city. Oh yeah, wow. This camera is rocking back and forth here. You've got lightning going on. You can see the waves of rain moving in closer to the camera, and that's because we've got strong wind pushing these curtains of rain towards the camera here. And people have just completely stopped on the highway. They have their hazards flashing right now, on and off, warning people that this is a pretty dangerous situation. They're moving very slow right now. Very slow at the moment. And we may be losing. No, we didn't lose power. I'm actually kind of surprised that we haven't lost power yet in this area, just because of the strong wind that's going on right now. We have some really strong wind in this area. And here, let me move the camera a little bit farther up to the north on the highway here. So we're just going to keep on going up to the north here. So we're going into the Charlac or St. Charles Rock Road along the highway. You can see how much water is just flying across the highway here with those very strong winds. Very strong winds. So again, the severe thunderstorm warning is warned for 70-mile-per-hour wind speeds and golf ball size hail. So not only do we have that large hail in here, but also the high wind. It did look worse further back here. So let's go back to this camera. Oh, look how much this camera is shaking back and forth here. People have stopped on the side of the highway because they do not want to go any farther. And we may be losing power in this area. I would not be surprised if we do lose power in this area. Now, while we work to get another camera, I do want to go back to our GR Earth because that's going to show us that we have officially several hail reports out there. So we officially have several hail reports to update you on. Let's go back to GR Earth. And here are your hail reports. So Crystal Lake Park, we have a 1-inch hail report, but even more impressive down near the St. Louis Fire Department in Kirkwood, actually. The St. Louis Fire Department has reported golf ball size hail in this area. If you go up to the north just a little bit, you've got $half size hail reported by an imping alert or an imping report, and that's near Webster Groves. So those are the hail reports that we've gotten so far in this area. This hail core moving to the north now in between Ladue and University City. And again, University City is one of those places that has gotten hit here recently by that tornado. So what we're seeing now is probably the best area for a hail core to be over the Overland and Charlac area. And let me switch back to our 4-box so that you can see that area. Here you go. Here you go. Okay, so we're really watching for this area right here. This area highlighted in pink right here. That's what we're watching for right now. And of course, as always, I can see the comments on the side of the screen. So let me know if you have any questions as we go through the St. Louis severe thunderstorm warning. I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to look at some other places right now because I know that Kansas City has a severe thunderstorm warning as well. That's actually why we jumped on. We jumped on to talk about Kansas City. However, St. Louis all of a sudden just blew up. This thunderstorm blew up right next to the city. And it's continuing to track to the north, now into Overland. Overland, Charlac, St. John's is about to get hit with some pretty decent hail as well. We've got a 3-inch hail marker on here, which is an algorithm that they are saying, hey, we could have 3 inches of hail up to 3 inches in this area. So let's continue to move this to the north. So there's Bell Ridge right here. And I think that that core would be a little bit farther to the west over here near Overland, Breckenridge Hills, Sycamore Hills, and Charlac. So let's see if we can get a good view of maybe any hail or just the lightning itself. People on the roadways seem like they're still moving pretty fine here. Not too much of a slowdown, not a slowdown that we saw earlier. We saw a pretty significant slowdown earlier. Ooh, look at that lightning out there. Traffic has improved on the highway. This is where we saw that significant slowdown earlier this evening. But it does look like people are still flashing their hazards. Anytime that people are flashing their hazards, it's a great indication that you are seeing some significant weather in the area because other people are warning other drivers that they're slowing their speed and that there's something hazardous coming their way. And so anytime that we see people flashing their hazards back and forth, it definitely indicates that there's something significant going on. There's some lightning back there, some really good shots of the lightning. So again, we're seeing this continue to move to the north, now into Woodson Terrace, St. John's, Bell Ridge. It looks like we may have started to pick up speed on this storm as well. Let's see if the National Weather Service has any information here. They're saying a severe thunderstorm located over Ladue. So it's to the north of Ladue now, moving to the north at 40 miles an hour. So it's really clearing the city at a pretty decent pace right now. It looks like we are also seeing that hail core start to shrink. So earlier we saw a larger hail core. I would say it's probably shrunk a little bit now. You can kind of see that here. And then as we move to the north, it started to shrink a little bit. So I would say this is the hail core right here. 2-inch size hail marker. I'm not quite sure. I believe that there's a 2-inch size hailstone in this part of the storm. No, I would say it's most likely a decent bit smaller than that. So while we wait for more local storm reports to come in, we do have a few other questions asking about how is Tulsa, Oklahoma? Tulsa officially out of the severe risk for this evening. Let's take a look at Tulsa. You guys are in the clear. Not even a watch going on in Tulsa right now. If you move down to the east, however, we're talking about the Fayetteville and to the east area, Russellville, Boonville, we've got some pretty strong wind in here, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, but the hail risk over here is pretty low out in the northwestern side of Arkansas. Let's move back up we'll do Kansas City first, and then we'll get back into St. Louis. So we've got some high wind moving into St. Joe, 70-mile-per-hour wind speeds and nickel-size hail. And then now coming into Kansas City, it looks like the storm has almost stalled. Go back a little bit. It feels like the storm has been in the same place for quite some time now. 60-mile-per-hour wind speeds is what we're seeing in Kansas City on the west side right now. This will slowly move into the city, but I'm also concerned about that flooding risk, especially if this is moving so slow, then we're probably getting a decent flooding risk. Hey, just a heads up for St. Louis. I know that we are watching storms on the northwest side of the city right now. They have updated the severe thunderstorm warning, which we'll get to here in just a few minutes. However, you guys have more storms coming. You've got some of these isolated storms down here to your south, but you also have storms out to the east. And what's probably going to happen is at some point, these will probably collide, and that will make them, most likely, all of them a little bit smaller, or excuse me, that will most likely make the hail size in there a little bit smaller and a little bit weaker. But you do have more storms coming your way. So we talked during the noon forecast today about multiple rounds of severe weather. This was not the only round of severe weather today. There's your second round. It's farther back to the west. There's your second round. So don't get complacent. After these storms go through, you'll probably have another round of storms here. All righty, let's update our traffic cameras. Again, this warning is for 2-inch size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So the National Weather Service has come down on that wind a little bit. However, it's still warned for some very, very large hail. Got a decent hail core in here. Let me switch over to your 4-box. Your 4-box. So we're really watching for the hail core near the Bentley area. And let's update our traffic camera as well so we can get more information on the traffic camera closer to Berkeley. Yeah, lots of people have pulled off the side of the highway now, and they're actually sitting under an overpass, which is very, very dangerous. That's a very common thing that we tell people not to do. Don't sit under the overpass. That becomes a very dangerous situation because people, they can't see because they've got such a strong rain in front of them, such a heavy downpour. And then what they'll do is they won't see you there and they will run into you. You cause a pileup on the highway there. So hopefully that doesn't happen in this situation. However, we often tell people do not just sit under the bridge. That is very, very dangerous. Let's keep moving to the north here because I do see a decent backup up here. Looks like people are slowing down. Everyone is running their hazards right now. So this is where we've got the strongest, or this is one of the areas that we've got the strongest rain right now in the Florissant area. The storm has definitely picked up speed. It's going pretty fast now. So we are now out of the area where we have traffic cameras. You can see that we've got some pretty low visibility and still a ton of lightning. Even outside of the core of this storm, we've got a ton of lightning here. Holy moly, look at that lightning. Did you guys know that there's a direct correlation between a ton of lightning, or lightning density is the meteorological term for it, and hailstones? So we are more likely to see hail, large hail, if we have a ton of lightning, a high lightning density. So there's a direct correlation between the two. Just a little fact there as we wait for this severe thunderstorm to make its way out of St. Louis. So I do have a few more minutes before that happens that I'll stay on here and wait for the storm to exit the St. Louis area. In that time, if you guys have any last minute questions, let us know. We can kind of talk back and forth here. Tonight so far, we've really covered St. Louis. However, we've done a lot of coverage on Missouri as well, or Kansas City, Missouri. Today, and we do still have a severe thunderstorm warning in Kansas City. We've got a pretty slow mover out there, 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-size hail out in Kansas City right now. Tulsa, OKC, severe clear. The next big city to potentially get hit would be Little Rock, but that will not be until very, very late tonight, if not early tomorrow morning. One thing to note here, we do have a confirmed tornado down to the south of St. Louis. This is pretty far outside of the city in Potosi, Caledonia, Belgrade, Missouri. This is a confirmed tornado. Moving to the north, at about 25 miles an hour, 25, 30 miles an hour. It's a radar confirmed tornado. So what that means is that they can see debris being lofted into the air. So we can see that right here. There's the rotation. We're seeing it at a very high level because we're so far away from the radar right now. But you can see the rotation, and then you can see the debris as well. Anytime that we see a correlation coefficient drop, so that would be your CC drop, if it highlights in blue, that is not a good thing. It means that this tornado has hit something and debris is being lofted into the air. And that's exactly what we see from this confirmed tornado on the ground out in the central eastern portion of Missouri. So we're talking about a pretty far distance away from St. Louis. However, it is moving up St. Louis's way. How far away is that exactly from St. Louis? It's about 50 miles away, and it's moving about 25 miles an hour. So eventually this storm will probably make its way to St. Louis. However, will it be as strong as it is now once it's in the city? Probably not. My initial guess here, is that all of these storms are going to crowd each other. So we've got all of these storms around each other right now. As this continues to move to the north, most likely we'll see more storm coverage in this area, more storms around this area. And if this storm itself does not have enough space to organize, if it does not have enough time and space to organize because of all the other storms around it, what we're going to see is just disorganized storms cause more of a wind risk than they do a hail risk. So most likely the hail and tornado risk will go down, but we'll have to watch it just to make sure. You can never be too sure about these spring storms because they will surprise you. All right, let's go back to our GR Earth because we do have a new local storm report update to give you. A ton of storm reports here. We have a brand new golf ball size hail report in St. Anne right now. Berkeley, ping pong ball size hail report. $50 size hail report in between Hazelwood and Florissant. Florissant? I hope I'm saying that correctly. Between Florissant and Cross Keys, we have another hail report. So we've got definitely some decent golf ball size hail reports across the western side of St. Louis. Let's see if we can update our traffic cameras to get you any better view of this storm. It's definitely outside of where we would normally track. Yeah, I mean, there's just not a ton of traffic cameras over here. But you can still see the lightning. Those in downtown St. Louis and on the east side of the city are getting a great lightning show tonight. Still many people flashing their hazards as they're moving on the highway here. We've got some slower speeds as well, which is always good. You know, if it's raining, slow your speed. I'm wondering about that flood threat further back to the south. It looks like the roads are definitely still wet. People are still kicking up water in front of or behind them into the cars behind them as well. So you may get some of that road spray threat. There you go. That's your biggest hazard right now is that storm out in St. Louis. Confirmed tornado down to the south, about 50 miles out of St. Louis. And then we've got a severe thunderstorm warning in Kansas City as well. That hail core continuing to truck on just to the north of Mussex Ferry right now. So I'm wondering if the National Weather Service will continue this severe thunderstorm warning for 2-inch size hail. 2-inch size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts is what they have it for right now. and this hail marker. Hail markers are definitely getting smaller. You can see that right. Hang on, let me switch my radar over. You can see that right here, highlighted here in green. This hail marker is for less than the size of an inch for hail sizes in this area. So I would agree with that, that we probably have some smaller hail sizes right now. Hail definitely possible, but it's probably a bit smaller than it was earlier. So what will the storm do as it continues to track to the north? And one thing that I do want to note with this storm is see how this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. Whenever storms get so crowded, they produce smaller hailstones, if any at all. So do you see how we had pretty isolated storm there for a while out in Kirkwood, but as this thing moved to the north, we had more rain forming up to the north, and as it started to crowd all together, that's whenever we started to see the hail core weaken and the storm overall weaken, and the National Weather Service took it down from 60-mile-per-hour wind gust, or excuse me, from 70-mile-per-hour wind gust to 60s. So that's exactly what happened, is that we just saw these storms all collide with each other, and that does not make for good organization. I mean, we need good organization for large hail. So we'll see what the National Weather Service does with this warning right here, but it does look like traffic is moving a lot better on the highways now across the entire city. Saw a great lightning show out of this. Tons of lightning from this storm right here. And if we go to the Gateway Arch webcam here, you can see some of that lightning off in the distance on the right side of the screen. It's just a very pretty camera. It doesn't show a ton from the storm. It's not raining down here. However, it is raining way off in the distance here. It's just a very pretty view that I wanted to share with you here as we continue to watch the storm track off to the north out of St. Louis. So the worst is over for St. Louis proper. For now, the worst is over, but you do have more storms down to your south, and you have more storms off to your west that will most likely impact you later on this evening. So you will probably have more storms out in St. Louis today, but the worst here in the city right now is starting to wrap up. And you've got a great lightning show. So we'll leave that up there here for a few minutes. And don't forget that we have a noon forecast every single day. What time? At noon. Well, 12:15. It kind of depends on the day, but we do a full breakdown of the storms that we saw the previous day. We look at what we're expecting for the next few hours. You know, we do a whole breakdown of storms. And we talk to you guys just like we do right now. We answer your weather questions. We go back and forth. If people want to talk about one city in particular, we'll talk about it. So we really enjoyed that noon forecast. We hope that you join us tomorrow at noon, because that has been a big hit, especially during severe weather season. And we do have another round of severe weather for tomorrow. Tomorrow we have storms out near Tennessee. So let's take a look at that risk for tomorrow. We have an enhanced risk highlighted here in orange, and I can share that with you. There you go. There's your risk for tomorrow. So we are expecting another round of storms tomorrow, anywhere from Bowling Green to central Kentucky, through most of Tennessee included in this risk, northern Mississippi and Alabama all included in this enhanced risk as well. So this is something to keep your eye on tomorrow as we have another round of storms moving our way. After tomorrow, things start to quiet down a little bit. We've got another risk on Wednesday out on the East Coast, but it really does look a lot quieter as we head into the end of this week. So I hope that you all get a quiet Memorial Day weekend. However, we will have to see, it's that time of year. So you never know what's going to happen. And I don't see any more questions coming up on the chat. And I'll tell you, this storm has almost exited the severe thunderstorm warning. The National Weather Service is still warning this for 2-inch size hail, and maybe they're seeing little pockets of hail in here. But for the most part, this storm is just about out of St. Louis proper. So we are going to hop off of here. But I promise you, if any other storms come into St. Louis, our meteorologists will be tracking it. So we have a whole team of meteorologists that are standing by right now. They're sending out notifications to everyone with our app, and they're saying, hey, there's large hail in St. Louis. And so they will continue to do that even through the overnight hours. We always have a meteorologist staffed 24/7. So we will always be sending out those notifications and tracking and mapping those storms for you. So I think we had 5 or 6 METs mapping today, and I bet that we'll have just as many METs mapping for tomorrow. So we have a lot of eyes on the storms. We've got a lot of hands working for mapping those storms as well. We even had storm chasers out in the fields today having, real-time eyes on the storm and cameras on the storm. So we posted storm chasing videos all over our social media. Go and check those out. But until tomorrow, have a great night. Stay safe. Again, St. Louis, you guys are not out of that storm risk yet. You have another round of storms down to your south and off to your west. So bottom line, you'll probably have more lightning and thunder just like this through the overnight hours, but the worst case scenario will be that large hail, high wind, and that low tornado threat. So it is something to take seriously. And there is officially no more warnings in St. Louis right now. We saw this severe thunderstorm warning be allowed to expire at 9:15. I told you guys it was weakening, and it looks like the National Weather Service saw that as well. So thanks for joining us today. We'll see you back here at noon tomorrow.